Interpret points relative to a system. Okay, Marcellus used a blend of white corn and yellow corn to make tortilla chips at her restaurant. She needs to buy 50 kilograms of corn in total for her next order. The white corn costs 30 cents per kilogram, yellow corn costs 15 cents per kilogram. She wants to spend $12 in total. So you make a graph. Notice the blue line is for the total of kilograms because it was 50 kilograms. It says right here total of 50 kilograms right there. So the total was 50 kilograms, and this is the total. The green line is the cost. It's 30 cents for the white corn, 15 cents for the yellow corn, and the total spent is 12. Now notice that both dots, both lines meet in exactly one point here. So right here it says Marcellus spends the intended amount of money and buys the intended amount of corn. So this was the intention, was to get exactly at this point. So that was the intended amount. Now it says that Marcellus spent the intended amount of money and buys more than the intended amount. No, because right here is exactly what you want. So the first one is what you intended to spend and what you intended to get. So you were going to spend a certain amount of money and you were going to get a certain amount of corn. If you look at B, you're spending, your certain amount of money, but you're getting more. That's not true. You exactly expected it to be there at E because that's where the lines meet. So wherever the lines meet, that's where you expect it to be. See, C would be out because it mentions less, and D mentions less. No, the point is exactly where the lines intersect. So that's what you intended to spend, and that's what you intended to get. So you intended to buy this amount of corn, and you intended to get this total amount of corn. So my answer here is A. Let's see. Casper has some whipping cream that is 18% butterfat and some milk that's 4% butterfat. So you have this 18% butterfat and 4% butterfat, and he wants to make 500 milliliters, and then he wants it also to be at 12%. So what they're going to do is they're going to make an equation out of these percentage here: 18%, 4%, and 12%. Well, that is going to be actually the red line. So the red line is made up of those percents that are changed to decimals. The blue line is your overall total. So it's just made up of the X and the Y there. So your overall total is 500. Now where the points meet right here in the middle, that's what you intended to buy. But notice that you're actually below the blue line. So the blue line is actually the level that you wanted to spend at, but you're not at that level. So you're right above the red line, but you're also right below the blue line. So you're going to be less than the blue, but you want to be more than the red. So the mixture has more than the intended volume and has the intended percent. So the mixture has more. Well, this is the mixture, and we are more than what it was. Now it says the mixture has less than the intended volume, and it has more than the intended percent of butter fat. So the mixture has less than the intended volume, which is the blue. That was our intended volume to be 500. But we're a little bit more than the percentage because the blue line is like the percentage. So that one sounds pretty good. The mixture has intended volume and has more than the intended percent of butterfat. So the mixture has the intended volume and has more than the intended percent of butterfat there. Okay, and D, the mixture has the intended volume and intended percent. No, because D would not be a good choice, because D, what they're talking about on D is they're talking about exactly where they meet at. So D would be out. Now, if you want to look at these other ones here, it says that the mixture has less than the intended volume and more than the intended percent. And then if you look at C, the mixture has the intended volume and has more than the intended percent of the butterfat. I believe the best choice here would be B because it addresses what it's less and what's more. So I would go with B. Okay, let's look at the next one here. It said Aiden wants to get a subscription to an online library. There are two subscription options, one of which charges a fixed $96 annual fee, another one charges a $3 per book borrowed. Here's the graph that shows the system. So the Y is the $96 annual fee, and the red is the $3. So you see at the beginning, at the start here, that if you look at this, the red is below the blue. So it's below the blue. So the red we would say would be the cheapest, and the blue would be more expensive down here. But then where they meet, that was your intended income. Now, once it goes past this, then the red becomes more expensive and the blue becomes less. So the yearly, it becomes cheaper where the books become more expensive. So a number of books and their cost where the subscription with the annual fees costs less. The number of books and their cost where the subscription that charges per book costs less. Okay, the number of books and their cost where both subscription and cost are the same. So right here, if they're both the same, that would actually be the point of intersection. So that one is no good. And then it says the number of books and their cost, that's not possible with either subscription. So that's saying that you couldn't reach it. So that the line doesn't even go through it. So this one would be no good because the line is actually going to the point. This one says it's the point of intersection. So it's going to either be A or B. So it says a number of books and their cost where the subscription that charges per book costs less. Well, actually the per book would actually be more. Here it says the number of books and their cost where the subscription will be annually fee less. So you can see right here the blue line is less than the red line. The red line is charging $3 per book where the blue is not. So the best choice would be A. Okay, next one, you have China and Joshua started skating at the same time in the same direction. But Josh had a head start of 10 meters past the starting line, and China skated 3 meters per second, and Joshua skated 2 meters per second. Okay, so these are your skaters here. So China's on top, she's the blue, and Joshua's the red. So you see at the start, she's behind and he's ahead. Then right here where they meet, she's able to pass him and he falls behind. So he's actually behind, he's trailing because the blue line is above the red line, so he's behind. So right here, what talks about behind right away is the first choice. It says China from the start line at the time where she is behind Joshua. But she's not behind Joshua. Joshua's the one that's behind. It says Joshua distance from the starting line at the time when he is behind China. So this is the one here. So Josh from the starting line at the time when he is behind her, because right here is where she caught her, because they started here, he was ahead, she was behind, and this is where they met, and this is where he went in the front because he's above her line. So this one is where he's fallen behind, because if you look at the next one, it says China and Joshua distance from the starting line when China catches up with him. Well, the catch up is where the point of intersection is. They said China is from the starting line and when she is farther than Joshua. So China distance from the starting line at the time when she is farther than Joshua. So she's actually farther than him too. So Joshua distance from the starting line at the time when he is behind China. And just as China's distance from the starting line when she is farther than Joshua. So right here, he's trailing behind her. So this would be B.